Welcome back to Best Book Forward. I'm your host, Helen, and this is the podcast where I chat to authors about the books that have shaped their lives. Think of it as like a bookish twist on Desert Island Discs. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be welcoming Nicola Gill to the show to talk about her brilliant new novel, Identity Crisis, a smart, funny, and heartfelt read. Identity Crisis follows the story of Claire Palmer, a woman trying to rebuild her life after losing it all. When a case of mistaken identity at the gym propels her into the unexpected world of celebrity lookalikes, Claire thinks she's found a way to rebuild it all. But it soon starts to unravel in quite surprising ways. Before we dive into this conversation, I just want to give listeners a quick note on some of the content. Nicola and I discuss themes of fertility and baby loss. As someone who has personally experienced this, I wanted to make sure that this conversation was handled with great care, but I do understand that for some it can be too difficult. So please listen in whatever way feels right to you. The overall conversation is warm, uplifting, and insightful, and one that I really hope that you will enjoy. With that in mind, let's give Nicola a warm welcome to the show. Nicola, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me on Best Book Forward today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to be chatting to you about Identity Crisis. I absolutely loved it. So, Nicola, do you want to start by giving everyone a little flavour of what Identity Crisis is all about?
Yes, so Identity Crisis is about a woman whose life has gone spectacularly wrong on all fronts, and she falls into work as a celebrity lookalike and then accidentally starts impersonating the celebrity in real life.
It's such a clever idea and it's a brilliant read.
Thank you.
I loved the idea of using somebody who looks like a celebrity who sort of unintentionally starts to explore their own life almost through it. It's such a clever idea, and I'd love to hear where the inspiration came from.
Okay, so I think the inspiration came from two main things. The first is that I'm always fascinated by how something very inconsequential, or seemingly inconsequential, can completely change your life. So the fact that the main character, Claire, is in the gym and someone mistakes her for this celebrity seems like nothing, but it actually changes her whole life. So that fascinates me. And I think what put it in my head was that I was in not a gym, actually a yoga studio, but same, and someone mistook me for someone. And so I think that might have been what put it in my head in the first place, although that was many years before.
How interesting.
Yes.
And it is
Mm.
it's such a clever idea because, as you say, it's such a small moment, but it hits Claire at exactly the sort of point in her life where you can see, and it sort of snowballs to the point where at the end I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
please,
What's she doing?
please. You just want to be like her best friend to be like, do you know enough now? Like,
Yeah.
but that would be a rubbish book, wouldn't it? If somebody stepped in right at the beginning to tell
Yeah.
her no.
Told her not to be so silly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see how she sort of snowballs with it, and I loved the idea of lookalikes. I've never read a book about a look or even considered
Right.
their lives.
And it's
Actually, it's
such a fascinating world and such a bizarre way to earn a living in many senses, because your
yeah,
whole identity is wrapped up in being someone else and how
yeah,
good you can be at being someone else, which is an odd one for your own sense of self.
yeah. But also, it's the lines because when you sort of start to explore it, I was like, well,
Exactly.
where is the line of yes, she's pretending to be somebody and people know, and it's really interesting actually. I've never considered it.
Yeah, I fell into complete rabbit hole of research for
Did
it.
you?
And it was just so fascinating, and how different lookalikes approach it, because some are very kind of, they compartmentalize it and they keep it very separate for their sort of normal life, as it were. But some aren't. They really start to almost inhabit that celebrity.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
fascinating.
Yeah, I guess if it's somebody that you look like in your everyday, it's one thing, but it's the sort of dressing up to look like them as well.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. People are so drawn two celebrities as well.
Oh,
So like
well,
it's huge.
that's a sort of major sort of, I guess, without sounding too pretentious about it, but that's a major theme in the book, is the a society's obsession with celebrity,
Mm,
which I have to be honest, I think is, often a bit unhealthy. But people
mm,
are just fascinated by celebrities and
yeah,
impressed by celebrities. And I think one of the things that Claire discovers is how much more kindly the world treats celebrities than it does normal.
yeah. Yeah, we're going completely off track
Sorry,
here, which I love.
sorry.
Let's stick with it because I just, on that theme, the celebrity that Claire looks like
Yeah,
reminded me very much of a, somebody who was on our TV screens, and the partner who she sort of pairs with, who is Jenna's co-star, has a sort of similar storyline to somebody else, and it is that sort of thing. Like when it's good for them, it's great because she's in Selfridges and people are giving her attention and freebies that she doesn't need because they think she's a celebrity. But when there's a scandal, how their life stops.
yeah.
Like as a lookalike, they have they have done nothing wrong, but suddenly their world as that lookalike stops. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, your life is completely tied to theirs,
Yeah,
um, for better, for worse.
yeah,
And it's odd because often people do fall into it just because they happen to look a bit like someone, and someone will, put the idea in their head, or they'll get this idea to do it. So, there's a lot of chance involved.
yeah. I'll have to tell you afterwards, but the time that I did meet actually a very well-known celebrity, and I thought that he was a lookalike, but it wasn't
Oh, how
a
funny.
lookalike, and it was actually, and I was like, seriously, you look just like him.
Oh, how
And so he
brilliant.
got really, really cross with me. So, oops. Let's talk about Claire then. So she is a very complex character, somebody who I really related to, really rooting for. And as I said, I felt quite protective of her. She wasn't doing anything out of sort of malice. She was just being swept away with this situation, heart in the right place, maybe doing the wrong thing. Um, could you tell us where she came from and whether she was a character that sort of developed as you wrote, or if you always knew who she was and what she was going to do?
Um, I would say somewhere in the middle. So, first of all, thank you, because I love that you felt protective of her. I felt very protective of Claire, because nothing she does um, comes from a bad place. She is actually trying very hard to be a good person. She just doesn't always make very good decisions. Um,
Mm,
but yes, a bit of both. So I think at the before I started writing the book, I did have a very strong sense of her and who she was, and the sort of challenges that she'd faced. I'm trying to not give too many spoilers.
it's hard, isn't
It's
it?
really
Yeah.
hard, but I did have a good idea of that. But then inevitably, the more I wrote and the more she interacted with the other characters, the more real and three-dimensional she became. And I think one of the great fun parts of the book for me as a writer was her friendship with Malcolm, who's her sort of celebrity lookalike partner in crime, if you like. And he doesn't seem, when you first meet him, like a character who's going to teach anyone anything, but he does actually teach Claire a very great
Mm,
deal.
yeah. I loved Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so, and he was the friend that she needed at the right time, wasn't he? Sort of came into her life in strange circumstances. I guess being a sort of lookalike as well, but he was definitely the friend that she needed, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting because when you first meet Malcolm in the book, he doesn't seem, as I said before, like someone who's going to be able to teach anyone anything. He
Mm,
doesn't seem to be any great font of wisdom. In fact, he seems totally wrapped up in Malcolm. Um, but there's real depth beneath that. And
yeah.
he does, again, without wanting to say too much, when Claire really needs him, he's there.
Yeah, I guess in his way, as much as Claire's carrying a very heavy weight, he's got his own life experiences that have led him to where he is, and so together I think they need each other as much, don't they?
Absolutely, and that's such an important thing for us all to remember, isn't it? That everybody's carrying their own stuff, if you like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what we see on the surface isn't necessarily what's going on underneath. So,
totally.
someone who appears as he does, very prickly and difficult, can be very big reasons why someone's like that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'd love to talk a little bit about the structure of the book. We talked about this before we came on. I love books that actually we talked a lot before we came on. I love books that move seamlessly between timelines and sort of allow you to really feel like you're learning so much about the character. And I think that's with Claire, when you sort of go back in her life, you really understand who she is, what she's been through, and why she is who she is today. And I just thought those timelines, the way you moved, was just beautiful and so clever. How difficult was that for you to structure the book in that way?
So difficult.
Mm.
So, yeah, thank you. I'm very delighted that it felt seamless, because it didn't necessarily feel seamless to write, but it was so important to me to show the reader how Claire got to where she is now, and the things she'd been through, and um, what makes her the person she is today. So
Mm.
that was really important to me. And it's actually great fun to swap between timelines as a writer, but it's challenging in the sense that you can get things wrong. Like, you can read back and suddenly realize that, you've had someone be pregnant for, a year and a half, or, you've had a child that was, born a year ago and is now 7. So you have to try and avoid things like that. But luckily, you have lots of talented people who are there to help you and pick you up when you've got things like that wrong.
Well, as we said before, I'm so not the read, unless it was something like, the child went from 0 to 7, I'd probably pick that up. But like little things that if I'm enjoying the story, I'm in the story, and that's it. And I just thought the way you did those, I think that's why I felt so connected to Claire, because I feel like I was with her, to see it all. I'm trying not to go through the spoilers there, but you really sort of gave me a connection to her, which I just thought was really special, and I loved it.
Oh,
So
thank
thank you. At the start, we mentioned that the book doesn't shy away from some really difficult topics, particularly surrounding women's reproductive journeys and grief and loss. And I have to say, I think you've handled them all beautifully, with a lot of warmth and wisdom in them as well. What made you want to explore those themes in fiction, Nicola?
I'm not sure exactly. Um, I feel that, again, I'm trying not to say too much. I think
Mm,
some of those issues are perhaps not as supported or as talked about as they could be. And without going into a massive feminist rant, I wonder sometimes if, because they're women's issues, with quotes around women's issues, that's the
mm,
reason they don't get as much attention and as much support as they deserve. And I think, particularly, I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but particularly with miscarriage, it's something that often isn't taken as seriously. And people are told things like, oh well, at least you can get pregnant, or oh, you can try again, as if that loss of a person, a baby, doesn't matter. And it does
mm,
matter, and it's a proper grief.
mm. I said to you before we came on, it's something that I went through before I was lucky enough to have my twins. And there are parts in this book that I was like, people said those things to me. And actually, I was surprised. I mean, my twins are going to be 13 this month. So it's a long time ago, but there were parts of it I was like, oh, there's still a pain there. Like when
Yeah.
you sort of think about it. When I went through it, I feel like it wasn't talked about. You had forums, which I don't even know if website forums even exist anymore, but but it was quiet and it made it a very lonely experience to sort of go through, which is why I think this is, if you're going through it right now, it might be too difficult for you. But I think, you know, looking at me from looking back at it, there's a lot of comfort to be found in sort of realizing that other people are going through it. And I think particularly the way you've written about it is so thoughtful and sensitive. I thought it was really, really beautifully done.
Thank
So
you.
I'd love to know, how was it for you to write those scenes, and what do you hope readers will take away?
Um, it was sometimes very hard to write those scenes, but it was important to me not to shy away from the pain in any way, and to be honest and truthful about that. And I guess what I hope is that, um, well, two things: that people who might have been through something like that themselves will find comfort and, to use a modern expression, feel seen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe for people who haven't experienced something like that, it will give them a better understanding, and perhaps uh, make them put them in a better position to support someone they know who might be going through that in the
Mm.
future. So that's what
Yeah.
I would hope from those parts of the book. And I would very much agree with you. I think if it's something that you were going through right now, then um, my publisher would probably hate me saying this, but I would probably say don't pick up the book right now. It might be too raw for you. But I think if you've got a little bit of distance from it, then it might be
Mm.
comforting to read those pages.
Mm. Yeah, I do. I think there's comfort to be found there at the right time. But also, as you say, for friends,
Yeah.
of people who are going through it, it'd be great if men picked it up as well, to really see, you know, how difficult it is for
Yeah,
women. So I'd love to see men read it.
so would I. And I think one of the things the book it sort of looks at is the impact those um, sort of issues can have on a relationship, because
Mm.
the idea that it always pulls people closer together isn't
Mm.
the truth. It's
No.
a very big thing to deal with in the
Mm.
context of a relationship. So, I wanted to look at that as well. And it's difficult with fiction because, um, you know, some you I mean, obviously you never want to upset anyone with anything, but at the same time you have to examine, the realities of life, the good bits and the bad bits.
Mm.
And so yes, not shy away from things just because they are
Mm.
difficult subjects, quote unquote.
Yeah, but I think fiction is the perfect place sometimes to explore
Well,
things that are painful.
I don't know. I can't remember the exact quote, but the idea that stories are how we make sense of the world
Mm.
has always been very true for me, and
Yeah.
I for in my own reading life, I very much enjoy fiction that will tackle topics that I might have experienced or found very difficult in my own life, but it helps me to understand them more deeply, to see other points of view, but also to have my point of view sort of validated and seen. Um,
Yeah.
it's comforting.
Yeah. It is. It really is. So I do want to say though, Identity Crisis is by no way a doom and gloom read. There is a lot of warmth and humour and wisdom and fun in it as well. I'm going to read this. I saw this on your website. I wrote emotional but uplifting stories and love combining serious subjects with humour, not least because I found that in the darkest times in my own life, it's been laughter that's got me through. I totally relate to this. I think laughter and, it's so important. So I do think something you've done really, really well in Identity Crisis is that balance. I mean, it's heart wrenching, heartwarming, and then just these sort of touches of humour as well that just come at the right time always throughout the book. How difficult was that for you to balance all of that, Nicola?
It 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 was, and it wasn't difficult at the same time, because obviously you have to be quite sensitive when you're doing that. But I'm so drawn to those type of stories, and I, to be honest, I'm not sure I could write in a different way. Um, and I really meant, what I said on the website. Even at the worst times in my life, there has been moments of humour that have pulled me through. So one example I remember very well was at my dad's funeral, which was obviously, a terrible day, and I was incredibly close to my dad. But my brother and my sister and I, something made us laugh, and the three of us got sort of, you know, I suppose almost hysterical, like giggly about something. And, a casual observer might have thought, oh, this is a bit odd. They don't look very upset. But we were all devastated. But it was
Mm.
something that would have made my dad laugh as well. Um,
Yeah.
and, I won't bore you with the whole story because it's some of a sort of in family joke. But that has really stayed with me. So I think with books, and when I'm all my books, but Identity Crisis being no exception, you can have something that's very, very sad and painful, but you will try and find humor, and that will be the thing that makes life. I don't know if it makes it all right again, but it makes you keep going.
Yeah, yeah, you draw from it, don't
Yeah,
you? Like, I think um, we had a very similar experience with my mum at my mum's funeral. I have a brother and a sister as well, and I remember us just having a moment of just, yeah, just being sort of
yeah,
hysterical and thinking people must be like, what are they laughing about?
I
It's not
know.
funny at all.
Yeah,
But
tragic.
you do need it, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's needed, and I think it's so relatable. Like, I think anyone, even if it's not something like that's tragic, an awkward situation. My daughter's always saying she really struggles if people are telling her off because she can't stop laughing, and
yes,
I was like, oh,
yes.
you get that from me, I'm sorry.
No, I totally understand that. I totally understand that. And I think it's, you know, humans are complex and messy and
Yeah,
multifaceted, and you can go between very strong emotions very quickly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I love the way you write emotions. Actually, I read again from Francis, Swimming for Beginners, which was my first book of yours that I read, which I loved. I do like the way you write, because it's so true, and it's sort of I can really relate to your characters and what they're going through. I just think you've just got such a beautiful writing style. I absolutely love it, Nicola.
Thank
And
you.
I'm excited because I actually thought Swimming for Beginners was your debut. And then Frances was like, no, she's got other books. And I looked and I was like, I've got more to read. It's the best feeling.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice.
Okay, we talked a little bit about Malcolm, but I also loved the men in Identity Crisis. So there's a love interest, a former love, and Malcolm. And I thought you write men really well as well. I think I really liked them, particularly because they all face their struggles. They're equally believable characters. And I feel like this is probably quite mean, but do you have a favourite man in Identity Crisis?
Oh, that's a really tough question. Okay, I think gun against my head, I would have to say Malcolm. I've just got such
Yeah.
a soft spot for Malcolm because, um, when you first meet Malcolm, he's, very vain, very, very, very orange, very full of himself, and really quite awful to Claire. I mean, not supportive in
Mm,
any way. And you initially think, oh, what an awful little man.
yeah.
But actually, the more she gets to know Malcolm, and the more you as a reader get to know Malcolm, the more you realise that there's depth there, and he's actually underneath all the sort of carapace. He's actually a very kind man,
Mm,
and I guess the acid test is when Claire really needs a friend. Malcolm comes through big time. And I
yeah.
found that very, I really enjoyed writing Malcolm. He's a great
Mm.
character. We all need a Malcolm in our life.
We really do, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I think for me, the thing, I mean, he's my favourite male in the character in the book as well. But for me, what made him so real is once I realised who he was, once some of those layers peeled back, I felt like I wanted to apologise to him for judging him.
Same.
I was like, oh, I really didn't sort of think about who you were behind that lookalike facade that he'd put up. I just sort of totally judged him, and I felt bad for it because he is an absolute diamond, isn't he? I love him. So,
Excellent.
so in your mind, if you could pass my apologies on to Malcolm,
Okay, I'll tell him.
that would be
I'll
great.
tell him.
And something we talked about before is I found some of the book was so easy to see in my mind. There's scenes where Claire is posing as her lookalike and she's helping a school with their play, and during the rehearsals, and I just loved those scenes. It reminded me of the movie Nativity, that sort of, just like the kids together. I could I think it'd be a really good TV series, actually.
I do
Identity
too. I hope
Crisis.
Netflix are listening. Please commission.
Yeah, it would be really good, wouldn't it? It would be really, really good. Yeah, commission it.
I've already cast it in my mind, so yeah, if they're listening.
Oh, do you want to tell us who your cast is, or keep it?
Uh,
Are you manifesting it secretly?
I think I would probably have Reese Witherspoon as Claire.
Yes.
I think she'd
Oh,
do a
she'd be
very,
great.
very good job being Claire, and I think it would be
Would she play?
interesting to
Sorry.
see her in that role.
Would she play Jenna as well?
I guess she would. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she'd be brilliant. Oh, I love that. Yeah, let's make that happen.
Okay.
Everyone start manifesting.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have any favourite scenes to write?
So I loved writing the rehearsal scenes. They were fun. But also there's a scene towards the end of the book where Malcolm, who we've talked about before, Claire's at home on her own and she's very, very low. And Malcolm phones and tells her to put the telly on. And I can't say too much because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it. But when she first does so, she thinks, why is he doing this to me? It's just cruel. But it's actually Malcolm knows she needs to see. And that was a very emotional scene to write because Claire's at her sort of lowest ebb at that point.
It's lovely. It's such a great, and it is a brilliant scene. I loved it so much. It's out now. I recommend you all go and pick it up. And Swimming for Beginners. And if you've read any other books of Nicholas, sorry, that was a weird glitch there. Let me know your favourites because I am so keen to read more. Before we move on to talk about the books that you've picked that shaped your life, Nicola, just to remind listeners that all of the books we're talking about are linked in the show notes, so they'll be really easy to find. Now, I know you didn't find this easy, did you, picking your 5?
Oh,
How angry were we?
oh my goodness, I found it so hard. I have about 5 books that I'm obsessed with at any one time, let alone, over the course of my whole life. But yes, it was very.
Well, I'm glad you did it. We were saying the number. I was like, I often think, I was like, should I make it 6? And I was like, I just think it's just hard, isn't it? It's just hard anyway. So
No, I could be, to be fair, if you'd given me 100, I would still have struggled. I'd be still,
yeah,
talking. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have read 3 of the ones that you've picked.
Okay.
I've added one to my basket straight away because I was like, oh, how have I missed that one? It sounds really good. So
Okay.
let's see if you can convince me to buy it.
Okay.
Do you want to start by telling us about your first book and why you chose that?
Okay, so the first one I chose was the Mr. Meddle series by Enid Blyton. And I chose those because these were the first books I remember reading on my own when I was 5. And I think they're the books that inspired my love of reading, my lifelong love of reading. But also, rather grandly, at the age of 5, having read Mr. Meddle, I announced that I wanted to be an author. And it took me quite a long time after that, but I had to put Mr. Meddle into the selection because you build it to me as books that have shaped me. And I thought, well, if that isn't shaping me, I don't know what is. And they hold a very, very special place in my heart because I was in South Africa at the time with my mum, and my dad was still back in England. And he sent me the Mr. Meddle books. And they used to come, in my memory, I was only 4, but in my memory, they used to come once a week in a parcel, and it was very exciting, the new Mr. Meddle book. So that's choice number 1.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, Enid Blyton's having a real moment on this podcast because for so long nobody picked her. And I was like, that's so weird. Like, I would totally think she'd shape people's lives. And we've talked about it before that, we acknowledge that, she was problematic in many ways, but her
Yes.
books still,
Well, I have to
do.
admit, I nearly at the weekend went back and read one, and then I thought, no, I can't. I don't want to read it
Yeah,
with modern, new eyes. I want to just remember
yeah,
how much those books meant to me, and they did mean
yeah,
so much to me.
yeah,
And as I say, I was 4 turning 5 when I started reading them, so I, really had only just started to read on my own. um, so whether I'd like them now, I don't know, but it doesn't matter.
yeah.
They did shape
It
me.
doesn't matter. No, I went up to because I was like they've popped up a few times, and whenever somebody talks about these, I can remember the little hardback. So I went into the loft and I dug. Well, I bought a big box of these in a car boot sale for my kids, and then they weren't at all interested in them. But
Oh,
I was like, so I couldn't find
oh,
Mr. Meddle, but I know I had the Mr. Meddle one up there. But it's like it's so lovely to look back at like all the little
yeah, oh,
illustrations and things. They were just so lovely, weren't they?
yeah.
Just beautiful books. And I love that, from that young age, you decided that you wanted to
I
be a
know,
writer. I
right? I
think
mean,
that's
imagine at the age
incredible.
of 5 saying you wanted to be an author. What an odd child.
My daughter's the same though. I mean, like we've got like boxes of her. Like she's like, this is my first book. I mean, she's at the moment
Oh,
she's writing a thriller. So she's just come up to 13, but she's all, and I was like, God, I wonder whether she actually does, that will be her path because she was so adamant as a child. That's what she would do. And it's maybe, maybe
maybe.
watch his face.
Yeah.
Um, okay, Nicola, let's move on to your second book choice.
My second book choice, not a very original choice, but I chose Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, because it's just an absolute classic for a reason. The dialogue is so sparkling and so witty and so brilliant and stands the test of time. And it's such a wonderful story about, yes, the search for love, but also the search for self, which I thought was sort of slightly relevant to identity crisis. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Jane Austen is, she is Jane Austen, and hard
yeah.
to beat, frankly.
See, I always struggled with the classics. So I always remember like being at school and just finding them like, oh, I'm not enjoying this. I don't feel like I'm smart enough. I'm not picking up what I'm supposed to be picking up. Beth O'Leary picked Pride and Prejudice on this
Oh,
series. I
did
think it's
she?
on the first one. Yeah. And I went back and I decided to listen to the audiobook of it. And I went in sort of thinking, oh, the language can be too hard. But I was like, actually, if you take away that sort of feeling of it being like a school or must read and must understand
Yeah.
and enjoy it, I enjoyed it so much more. So I'm like sort of opening my door a little bit now to sort of trying more classics at the grand old age of 48.
Well, I also picked it. So this is really naughty, but I picked it because I could cheat a little and mention
Oh,
Elligible, which is Curtis Sittenfeld's modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice.
ah.
Um, and Curtis Sittenfeld is one of my favourite authors as well. So I thought, okay, if I mention Pride and Prejudice, I can get in a Curtis Sittenfeld reference.
I'm not gonna. I mean, I did notice as well. Mr. Meddle's stories was a series,
I
so
know.
I've already noticed the sneaking in, Nicola.
Massive cheating, massive.
That's like you've got to beat Nikki May, who got the alphabet series. So she got a whole series that's the one for every letter of the alphabet. I can't remember who it was by, but she currently holds
She
the
smashed
champion of sneaking.
it.
She really did. Okay, let's move on to book number 3 then.
So I can't remember the order that I picked.
Saint
So
Maybe.
I
I've
picked
got.
Saint Maybe by Anne Tyler. And to be honest with you, I could have picked any Anne Tyler book. I've read every book she's ever written, and I think she is absolutely incredible. Um, Someone I can't remember who now, but someone much cleverer than me said that she makes the ordinary extraordinary. And I think that's a
Mm.
perfect description of why Anne Tyler's writing is so peerless, really, because she takes things that seem very small, and she just makes them everything. And that quiet
Mm.
writing is so clever and so hard to pull off. And I just think she's an incredible writer. I'm in awe of how she
Mm.
manages to do that.
She is a favourite on the show. She's been picked many times, including The Accidental Tourist has been picked a few
Yes.
times. Breathing Lessons,
Oh, I love
The
reading
Redhead.
lessons. I love
I
reading
have.
lessons.
Oh, I have. See, I haven't read many of hers. The last one I read was her newest one. Oh, the wedding in June. 3 days in June. 7 days in June.
Ah, do you know
I can't remember the title.
that might be the only Anne Tyler book I haven't yet read. Um, I'm gonna go and order it as soon as we're off.
3 days in June. It's called.
I'm gonna go and order
um,
it as soon as we finish talking. That's what I'm.
oh, it's a really small book. I got so much out of it. And just like the language and everything. And I was like,
She's
why did I
incredible.
put her off?
She's incredible,
Yeah.
and I probably shouldn't admit this because I don't think it reflects very well on me. But if someone says to me, "Oh, I don't really like Anne Tyler," I'm like, "Well, I'm not sure we can be friends."
I have that with a few authors as well, don't
Yeah,
worry.
I
I must go.
about a lot of books actually. I mean, if someone would say to me they don't like a Frances Quinn book, I would be like, "No, I can't be friends with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't
Yeah.
understand that."
It's funny, isn't it, when you meet people and you have such a similar taste in books and you're like, oh, I can see we're just
Yes,
meant to be. Just meant to be.
exactly. Yeah.
But then yeah, no, Frances Quinn as well, as she's
Oh, she's
another one I was saying to you.
wonderful, and her stories are. Um, I always think it's, even if you don't think you like historical fiction, you would love those stories because they just
Yeah.
absolutely transcend time and they're just so
Yeah.
uplifting and so wonderful.
I
Um,
can't wait for her new book. It sounds
oh, well,
amazing. Have you read it?
I I have. I've been lucky enough to have a sneak preview and
Oh,
it is absolutely superb. It's everything you would expect from a
yeah.
Frances Quinn book. It's an absolute gem and a joy. And yeah,
I
wonderful.
can't wait because the Troublemakers, I think it's out in March. We're recording this in November. I think it's out March, April time, isn't it? I
Yes,
don't
I
know,
think
but
it is.
I'll,
And I mean, it's just superb.
yeah,
It's everything you want from a Frances Quinn book. So it's pacey and it's warm and it's emotional and uplifting and funny and just wonderful.
oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, so we're going to move on to book number 4 then, Nicola.
Book
The
number 4
standard.
was Standard Deviation by Catherine Heine. And I've picked this because this would be my favourite, or one of my favourite, if I'm being honest, uplifting books. I don't know, have you read it?
No, this is the one I added to my basket because
Right.
I looked at it and I was like, how have I not
You
read this?
absolutely, I can confidently say you're going to love it. Um, Catherine Heine writes character so brilliantly. I mean, the characters in Standard Deviation, and particularly Audra, will stay with me forever. I mean, she's just one of the greatest fictional characters of all time. And she is also very good at uh, mixing the scenes that are very poignant with very, very funny. I mean, it's properly laugh out loud funny. So that's a book that, you know, if you're having a bit of a, tricky time or whatever, I would go back and I would read Standard Deviation again as a comfort read because it's just a joy.
I don't know how I missed it because I looked it up and when I was reading it, I was like, I mean, this just sounds like it couldn't be more me if it tried.
Oh no,
Like,
she's amazing. She's amazing, and it was quite funny actually because I went a couple of years ago to a Waterstones event that Catherine Heine was being interviewed, And I met her afterwards. She was absolutely lovely. But slightly embarrassingly, she knew me from social media.
Oh,
From
wow.
yeah, but from sort of, rhapsodizing constantly about her books, and she was very gracious about it, but I felt sort of slightly embarrassing fangirly.
Oh, no, I love
Yeah,
that.
but no,
I think that's a
she's a really really incredible writer.
oh, I'm gonna get it. So I looked, it's 2018, so it's a little while ago, but I was like,
Yeah, I I can't remember when I first read it. I don't know if I read it when it very first came out, but it was a while ago. But I think I've probably read it 4 times since then, which
oh wow.
um, is quite something because um, I get a lot of proofs for work,
Mm,
and there's a lot of new books all the time that you want to read, and classics you haven't got to yet and stuff. So to have read one book over and over, that shows that it's special.
it is. Yeah, I love that. And your next choice is one that I have read so many times.
Me
I really love this book.
Me
Go
too.
on, tell us.
So, not the most original choice from me, but I couldn't not have it. So, One Day by David Nichols, and I am going to make a huge sweeping statement and say no one does love quite like David Nichols.
Mm,
Um, I mean, the minutiae of relationships and um, not just falling in love with someone, but staying in love with them. He just does brilliantly.
mm,
And Emma and Dex, again, are very, very special characters who have stayed with me long after I've turned the page. And again, it's a book that I've gone back to. Um, I just think he's superb at what he does. And I love all his books, actually.
mm.
But I had to pick One Day because it's just such a clever premise and done so well.
It is. It really is. I mean, it's been picked. So Claire Pooley, Kate Sawyer, and Matt Cain have picked it
I'm in
on this
good
series
company.
before. You are in good company with a great book.
Yeah,
And it is. It's. I've read it. Oh, I've just read it so many times. As I get older and I read it now, and as a mum, I'm like, oh, come on,
I know.
this guy. But it breaks my heart every time.
But that's another really interesting thing, isn't it? Is that the time a book finds you in your life
Yeah.
is how will dictate, in some sense, how you react to it.
Yeah.
So, Pride and Prejudice, which I picked, I did as one of my A level books, and actually at the time I was sick to death of it. So I've had to fall
Mm.
back in love with Pride and Prejudice, um,
Yeah.
because I certainly would not have picked it aged 18.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I think like a lot of the sort of, books you do for school and things, you do either have to fall in love with them again, or for me, I had to fall in love with them the first time when I was older because I just did not enjoy doing them at school. I just found it hard,
Yeah,
really hard going.
and a book that you can sink into on holiday, and you're having the most marvelous holiday, and you can
Mm.
totally fall into that book and lose yourself into it, is going to have a better chance of becoming a favorite book than a book
Yeah,
you're sort of pressed up on the tube trying to read 2 pages with
yeah,
someone under someone's armpit, etc., etc.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yes, it definitely does make a difference where a book finds you, no question.
yeah. I do. I always think this right book, right time as well. Like when you just
Yes.
pick the one, it's like it's nothing better, is there? When you pick up the right book
Oh,
and just I love that.
yeah, no, it's a wonderful feeling, and when you discover an author that you haven't read before, and you read one book that you love, and then you think, oh my, there's more.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, that's what I've got with you. I was like, oh, I've got more to go and like read as well. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh,
With David Nichols, I think you're so right that his love stories. Did you read his latest one? You Are Here.
I loved it.
Oh, wasn't it
Yeah,
gorgeous?
beautiful,
Just
absolutely beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he is so nice. So I've met him, and he is so nice and so charming. You think you are like your books. You're just lovely.
Yes, yes, no, I think he is a really lovely person. He when in during lockdown. So my very first book came out at the just into the first lockdown, And there was a thing that a writer called Holly Bourne, very talented writer, started, which was called Sign for Your Local Bookshop, where because bookshops had to be closed, they were getting authors to sort of generate sales to sign book plates, effectively a sticker that goes in the front of the book to help generate sales for local bookshops. So people would buy the book online and then apply through the scheme, and the author would send them a book plate. And I got involved in it and was signing. And slightly more excitingly for readers, David Nicholls was also involved in it. And I emailed him at the time and I said, oh, look, I know I shouldn't really do this, but we're both signing for this. Would you mind signing a book plate for me? And bless him, you know, a couple of days later through the post, I got a lovely book plate saying, to my fellow author, love and best wishes, David Nicholls, which was really special.
Really special.
Yeah.
And I think Matt Cain was saying, so with his debut novel, he crowdfunded for it, and David Nicholls helped him with
Wow.
the crowdfunding and supported it. And I was like, that's so nice when you hear somebody who's so successful in their career just being nice. I mean, you always hear lovely stories from his readers,
Yes.
and it's nice that, you know, he sent that to you as well.
Yeah.
It's so lovely.
No,
It just makes
and
me want
I
to
think
read.
he does champion other authors,
Yeah.
and he's yes, he's got a very good reputation within the industry as being very kind and supportive, and just, I mean, I think that comes through in his books because there's so much warmth and humanity and empathy in them.
Yeah, yeah. I think you'd have to be. Would somebody who isn't like that be able to write that way? Like, you must have it in you to be able to put it on the page, surely,
I don't know.
or be a very good actor.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, isn't it? Yeah, it's a fascinating one. I don't know the answer to it.
Yeah.
Most of the authors I know are quite similar, I would say, to what you see on the page. I mean, hang on, let me go back on that. It depends the genre. Obviously, not thriller
Yeah.
writers. I do know some very
Yeah.
lovely, kind thriller writers who write very dark stuff. So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I'm talking nonsense.
No, you're right, because actually I often think with some of particularly the female thriller writers, they're all so lovely and so funny, and I'm like, and then they're like writing these like really
Yeah,
sort
I
of
know.
sinister dark plots. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
where did that come from?
yeah.
So
But I think to write um, a David Nicholls type of book as well as he does, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I think you'd have to, be a pretty
yeah,
good person.
yeah, I would totally agree. Okay, Nicola, I'm going to hit you with the last question. It's a difficult one. I think I know where you're going, though. If you could only read one of those books again, which one would it be?
See, I hate this question. I hate this question. It's so cruel. How can you do this?
It's so mean, I know.
Um. Oh, what am I going to pick? I am going to take Standard Deviation just
Oh,
because I know that I can read it. Or am I going to take One Day? I could read.
let's let's give you them all.
Let's give
I
me
can
them
see
all.
the pain. I can see the pain. Apart from the Mr. Meddle.
Yeah, I don't need Mr. Medal. That can stay.
No,
It was
that's
very
fine.
important, but that can stay. But yes, okay, give me them all. Thank you.
I'll give them. I can see the pain I was putting you through, and I know you already struggled to get it down to 5. So I was like, let's just stop before I break you.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, Nicola, it has been so wonderful chatting to you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I could talk about
I've,
books for hours.
me too. I've loved it. Thank you. I loved that conversation with Nicola. That was so much fun. She's a joy to chat to. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. Identity Crisis is out now, and I would highly recommend it, as well as Swimming for Beginners, which I also loved. And I am so excited to read more of Nicola's work. If you're enjoying the show, I would be so grateful if you could take the time to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your bookish friends all about it. It makes such a huge difference to the show. I'll be back next Thursday chatting to another author, and I really hope that you'll join me for that conversation too. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening, and see you next week.